All right, guys, what's going on? So literally just got done with a 26.2 Ruck March. It was actually the virtual Bataan Memorial Death March that I just got done with. Rucked it out with this rucksack. It was about 40-ish pounds, 43 pounds. All right, Crossfire DG3. Got it done in 5 hours and 11 minutes. So pretty good pace. I trotted it out for the majority of it. And then during the live session, kind of walked it out a little bit. And to be honest, I was kind of hurting by then anyway. So it worked out just fine. But we got it done with a pretty good pace, feeling pretty good. But now it's super important that we take care of ourselves and conduct a proper recovery before we move on with the rest of our day, right? So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, what I would advise for you to do if you find yourself needing some recovery from a marathon or a long rucking event or something similar to what I just did. This is what it's going to look like. We're going to talk about stretching and then also proper foot care so that you can be set up for success for the next long event you want to do. So first things first, we're going to start off with some stretches that you should do like immediately after your long event, whether you're running or rucking, okay? Then we're going to take the boots off. We're going to do a quick assessment and we are going to talk about how you can take care of any blisters, hot spots, sores that you might have sustained during your run or ruck. And then we'll talk about how to take care of wounds like that. And then also what's the best way to help them heal in a way that's going to set you up for more success for the next time you want to do something like this. And then afterwards, we'll go to on the ground stretching, which is better to have your boots off and just barefooted because you're going to need a little bit more grip for those sorts of stretches. And those are going to be the stretches that's really going to help us make our money and really help us with our recovery process and feel a lot better after going through a really long ruck or run like this. So with the off-ground stretching, it's not going to be anything too fancy. Okay, you're going to first start with a basic hamstring stretch. You want to stretch to the point where it's comfortable to yourself. So everybody's going to have a different capability here, but I want you to stretch to the point where you do feel a pulling in the hamstrings. Okay, don't be too comfortable with it, but I don't want it to be like stressing you out or making you shake either. It should be a comfortable stretch, but make it worth it. Do this for about 2 minutes. After that, I want you to move your feet out to about shoulder width apart. With this stretch, we're still targeting the hamstrings and giving them a further stretch, but we're starting to work into the groin area, which is something that a lot of people forget sometimes when they're stretching. Next, we're going to move into the standing quad stretch. Now, honestly, this one's helping me out tremendously because it was really in my quads that I felt it the most during my march that I did today. Keep the body straight, stabilize yourself with one of your hands and pull with the opposite hand so you get a nice stretch in the quad there. And then we're going to do an assisted sumo squat. Now, this is really going to help you open back up the chest. Make sure you're hitting the upper body as well as we do our stretches. And it's going to set you up for an actual sumo squat that we're going to do later once we take the boots off, just to help loosen up the muscles a bit before we actually go for our full stretch. Okay, so now we're going to take the boots off. Ugh. Now, I don't anticipate too much damage personally. My feet are pretty tough as far as feet go, and it's not going to be super pretty either. All right, so remember that this video is optional. Okay, if you want to skip through this part, you totally can. Now, if you do think you have blisters or you have sores or something like that, you want to take your boots off carefully so you don't antagonize the wound any further than it already is. So you want to loosen up the boots as much as you possibly can so that you can slide them off carefully. All right, boots are off. All right, so here we go. Gritty soldier feet in all their glory. I do not normally have pretty feet even when they are fully healed, but I'll be honest with you. Look, I got no issues at all. Look at my heel. No issue, no blister, no rubbing on the side. I don't even have anything going on with the toes. And this little bruise I have right here is not from today. That has been there for the last week or so, and that came from a run when I was breaking in some new shoes. So my feet are glorious right now. I got no issues. And that's the importance of having the right boot and sock combo. Mine, Garma NFSs and Fox River Fatigue Fighter socks all day long, baby. And look at my feet, 26.2 miles, trotted it out the majority of the time. Nothing wrong with them. Not a thing. Feeling good. But if you're somebody that is prone to blisters, or you do get blisters because you're just not used to this sort of mileage, or you haven't quite figured out your combo yet, let's talk about that. So you can see that I would normally, you know, back in the day, get a blister about right here. And that's because I have kind of like a, you know, a problem with my toe here. So I tend to get rubbing right here, okay? This has turned into, because I do certain things, this has turned into a callus. Okay, that's not a blister, it's a callus. I don't feel a thing there. But I would normally have gotten blisters right there. All right, now, this is why I'm always saying, if you do get blisters anywhere, if you get it here, or you get it on your heels, or even on your side of your feet are pretty common areas to get blisters, don't pop your blisters, okay? You wanna take care of them, you wanna keep them dry, okay? And you don't wanna let them pop. You wanna try to keep them as blisters, let them heal, and they will heal up as stronger. They'll heal up as calluses, okay? And even if you go out again and you're prone to getting blisters in that same spot, they will heal stronger and stronger and stronger with time, okay? So make sure you don't pop your blisters. I know a lot of people out there say, pop your blisters. I do not think that's a good idea. Keep your lip blisters, be proud of them, let them heal up as calluses, okay? If you get a nail that bends backwards or cracks, the best thing that you can do is cut away the nail all the way down to the crack if possible. If it's cracked so far that it's like into where the nail actually connects to the tissue, then you obviously don't want to cut it that far, but you want to cut it as down as best as possible so that it doesn't hurt. And then you also want to file it down so there's no hangnail there, and try to let that heal up as best as possible. I'd even throw like a little bit of cushioning or bandage on there to let that heal up, because if you don't, and you just kind of let it free fly there and it keeps snagging on things, it's gonna snag your socks, it's gonna hinder your training and hurt all the time, and it's gonna grow back in a weird way, okay? So if you do have some sort of cracked nail or something, cut it down all the way so that it doesn't catch, and then let it grow out, and then cut it down as soon as you can so the crack isn't there anymore. Bruising, whether it's on your toenails or it's on your foot somewhere, there's not too much you can do for that, but it is important to pay attention to, because it gives you a clue as to where your problem areas are and help you figure out if you are wearing your shoes or boots correctly, or if they're the right size, or if maybe you need a wider version of them. And it will kind of give you clues as to if you are having problems with your feet in general. I said this before, but as you can see, my feet, I actually have a bunion, a small bunion on this foot that I've been dealing with for a long time now. And that's one of the reasons why you'll see like that I have a bruise there, okay? And that's just a personal thing that I got to deal with, okay? But if you are getting those and you don't have any sort of structural issue with your feet, you can see I don't have any bruising on this foot. That's because this foot's fine. But if you don't have any structural issues with your feet and you're seeing bruising, it's most likely that your fit of your shoes or boots are either too tight or too loose, or your heel strike is just way off, you know? So most likely it's the sizing of the boots or shoes though. And then one last thing, because I've seen this happen to a lot of people, if you're having like peeling at the bottom of your feet, a peeling of skin, that is a really bad thing. That means you have some sort of moisture issue with your foot. Either you've gone too far and you used really bad socks, you sweat a lot in the feet and it's holding moisture to the point where it's starting to peel away, or you have some sort of athlete's foot or some sort of disease or bacterial infection that you really do need to take care of. So if you have any peeling down here at the feet at all, make sure you powder your feet and you get some anti-athlete's foot medication and apply that immediately. Keep your feet dry, okay, until that peeling goes away. If you're on your ruck and you already had blisters or sores or wounds or anything like that as you're rucking, you treated it as you were rucking with some moleskin or some sports tape or something like that, make sure that when you're removing that, you do so during a shower or a bath, or at least have that moleskin or sports tape or whatever completely soaked to help it peel off. Otherwise, if you're just ripping it off, it's gonna end up ripping off the skin with it. It's just gonna make the wound even worse than it already is. So make sure you do that. But besides that, those are gonna be the main issues that you might see after a long ruck like this, a long run. They're probably gonna be the most common things that you would see with your feet, and that's the way that you should be taking care of it. Okay, so now we're gonna move to our on the ground stretching. All right, so first things first, we're gonna hit the hamstrings again. We're gonna start with a single leg hamstring stretch. It's gonna loosen up the hamstrings just enough so that we can get to our double hamstring stretch afterwards. Now, if you're having a hard time with these hamstring stretches, it's okay if you can't reach your toes or if you need to bend your knee a little bit. Just like I said before, it should be something that feels comfortable to you. You don't want to be tearing anything or working too hard for it, but somewhat challenging, just a little. One of the key indicators to look out for is that if you're shaking while you're stretching, you're probably stretching a little too hard, okay? So just do whatever your skill level allows you to do, and then you'll get better from there. After that, we're gonna target the hamstrings, the quads, and the glutes with the dragon stretch. And with this one, your knee should be just over your toes or about where your toes are, and you're just gonna be leaning forward, getting a nice stretch in the hamstring, but again, not too hard. Keep it on one side and then move over to a lizard stretch, which is just going to give you an even deeper stretch after you've loosened up. And then make sure to do it on both sides. After that, we're going to be moving into a downward dog. Okay, this one, you're going to want to do your best to try to get your heels to touch the ground, but if they don't touch the ground, that's all right. Just make sure that the attempt is there. But again, it should be comfortable. Then we'll bring it back down and we'll do a seated quad stretch, which can be pretty difficult for anybody who hasn't ever done this before or is pretty tight in the quads. I would recommend being very careful when you get into this position. And if you can't quite sit on your feet, that's totally okay. That happens to me sometimes. Just do your best to get there. And if you can't quite get there, just hold yourself up, stabilize yourself with your hands, but do your best to get the actual stretch in the quads, the front part of your legs. And then, like I mentioned before, we're gonna finish it off with a full-on sumo stretch. This one's pretty difficult. It's hard to hold this stretch and to hold the stance. But it pays huge dividends if you can work up to it. I definitely recommend that if you've never done this before, you give it a shot and you keep trying to add it into your regime until you can hold a stretch like this for 2 minutes. Then you want to ease out of it and you're all done. And that's it, guys. Ease out of your stretches one by one and you're all done. I feel great now after stretching like that. Now that I'm nice and loose, I am going to go get cleaned up with an Epsom salt bath. Okay, so I'll do a quick rinse, then I'll hop in the bath and I'm gonna fill that with some Epsom salt. You can get that pretty much anywhere. You can get it at a grocery store, you can get it at Walmart. It's just a big bag of Epsom salt. You put in like a good cup or two of that in there and you just soak for 15 to 20 minutes and it's gonna do wonders for anything that's feeling sore anywhere and for the healing process in general. And I can't stress enough, I think it's okay to have yourself. And I can't stress enough, I know a lot of these races, end with like a beer or two. That's usually how it ends for me. But I can't stress enough, you need to make sure you're drinking water. That is the #1 thing that you could be doing to heal up from a race like this. And I would also recommend not getting too stationary throughout the first day of recovery. You want to kind of keep staying on your feet, kind of walk around every now and then, make sure you're stretching it out in the doorway, stuff like that. Don't just go to sleep and expect to wake up nice and loose, okay? That's definitely gonna result in some tightness if you just go take a nap after something like this. You also wanna make sure that you're getting enough salts in throughout the day, okay? You can see, for me, I think you guys can see that I have salt stains on my shoulders from where I sweat. Because when you're out there working that hard, your body's really trying to do the best it possibly can. To regulate itself, you're sweating like crazy and you're losing a lot of salts. So make sure you replenish those salts with some hydration mix, just throw a little bit of extra dabs of salts on your foods today, that's okay. And then some BCAAs will definitely do wonders for you. BCAAs and a couple scoops of protein will definitely do wonders for you. But that's it, guys. That's the gritty soldier recovery process. That's what I'm doing, and I'm gonna feel great and recovered after this. I already know. Now, I'm sure there's some other ideas and some other methods out there in the community. If you guys have any tips or tricks of your own, things that you live by during your recovery process, please go ahead and drop that in the comments for the community, for all of us, so that we can try that out for ourselves. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We have tons of existing videos and we're constantly coming out with new videos for all things fitness, motivational content, career enhancement, military, all sorts of things that are extremely helpful for a lot of people out there. So make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos. I'm gonna go ahead and put up some of our most recent videos about ruck marching here so you can go check that out and see what I'm talking about. But besides that, I've got nothing else for you and I'll see you on the next one.